Hey everybody, Racer X back again. Been a little while since our last video. I've been really busy, the video that I actually planned to put out this week was the T34 American Premium. However, I accidentally deleted the gameplay video that I had saved for it, so I'm going to have to record another one. But luckily I had this T110E5 video that had a really good example of how to play this tank. So this week's video is going to be quite a bit shorter, but it gives you some really good info on how to play this thing, so we'll get into it really quick. So we'll start with a gun. This tank has a great gun, pretty good fire rate, 6 rounds a minute, and when you've got the gun rammer on it, saves you a little bit of time there, 10% loading time. This gun fires pretty quick. 269 pen, 400 damage. You can pin just about anything out there from the front, depending where you hit it, of course, depending on the type of tank you're engaging. The turret armor on this thing is really good. 203 on the front, and the shape of the turret actually makes it hard to pin. It's got this nice teardrop shape, good plate around the gun. That's really hard to pin, but like a lot of the other American tanks, got a big commander's hatch. This thing is going to get hit a lot, so you need to make sure that you keep moving when you're engaging other tanks, because they're going to try to hit you in that hatch all the time. Engine power not bad, 875, pretty average. Tracks 30-degree traverse, and that's one thing I need to mention, is it's got 32 degrees traverse on the turret, so it's 52 altogether. So your traverse speed is really good in this thing. And radio, of course, 745, doesn't really make a big difference at tier 10. So now I have a large caliber tank gun rammer, a vertical stabilizer, because you are going to be moving a lot in this tank when you're engaging, so you want to make sure that you're more accurate when you're taking those shots on the move, and then of course a vent for improved crew. Now, one thing I want to point out on this tank, or actually two things I want to point out that is specific to the M103 and the T10 or T110E5 in the American tree that's different from all the other American tanks, is this thing's got a lot of hull armor. Now the sides and back are really light on hull armor, but it's got 254 frontal hull armor, 203 turret armor, so that means from the front on this tank, you're not going to take a lot of damage, and you are going to bounce a lot of shots, and the reason for that is, you can see, of course, like I mentioned before, the shape of the turret, and the front of the hull on this thing is round, all over. So, especially on the Glaxis plate, this is really nice on the front of this tank. As you can see, it's not flat like the other tier 10s, it's rounded. So no matter what angle you're getting hit from, whether it's front, kind of a side angle or whatnot, this thing has a really good chance of bouncing shots on the front. And a lot of tanks aren't going to be able to pin you from the front. So that plays into your advantage big time with this tank, and I'll tell you why during the video. I'll explain it while the video is playing. Now this thing, the speed on it is 37 kilometers an hour, so it is not the fastest tank out of the tier 10s. I think the IS-7 is quite a bit faster, the French tank, the AMX-50B, quite a bit faster, but this tank does have one advantage in that it's quick. There's a big difference between being fast and being quick. If you're fast, you can get good position on the battlefield initially in the beginning of the game, or if you need to make an adjustment to your position, move to somewhere else on the map to support somebody. So that's a big advantage, but this tank has the advantage in that it's quick, which means maneuverability. So when you're engaging other tanks, you don't have as hard a time getting behind them or getting side shots, because this thing moves pretty fast. It's only 37 kilometers an hour, but it gets to 37 kilometers an hour very quickly. So it's great for maneuverability. Now, as far as gameplay goes, we're going to get into the video. The video, actually, I'm going to cut it really short this time, because there's one part of the video that I really want to highlight that'll show you how to play this tank well. And this tank is really fun to play if you play it right. You want to play it like a medium. You don't want to try to trade blows with other tanks, because what ends up happening at some point, you end up taking side shots or getting shots on the rear or whatever, and it's guaranteed if anything tier 8 or higher hits you in the side or back, they're going to pen you. And you don't want to take module damage in this tank if you don't have to, because a huge advantage of this tank is maneuvering and the gun. You have a really good pen, you have really good maneuverability, so you want to use that to your advantage as much as possible. So that being said, we'll get out of here and we'll go into the video and show you some of the highlights of this thing. And unlike the other video, we're not going to have any music or anything, because there's one specific part that I want to highlight and discuss with you as we're going through it. So I'll be back in just a second.
Move out.
Okay, so here we go with the gameplay. I'm going to speed things up here quite a bit and get to the good parts, so I can show you guys just exactly how to play this thing. So at the beginning of the game, we're going to move towards town. This is pretty common strategy on this map. You want to move your tier 10s towards town, because that's usually where they're going to go, and the quick tanks are going to flank up around the northwest side of the map. So I'm going to stop and engage this. Not really engage, but take some shots on this T-59, because I can see him heading down the middle into our base. I don't want him getting in there wreaking havoc on our guys, so I'm going to take just a second to try to throw some damage down on this dude. I actually even turned back and head back towards the base at one point, because I didn't think that Panther back there was going to be able to take him. So like I was talking about earlier, this tank is fairly quick, so it's really easy to turn around, make some adjustments. Guy dies before I can get down there, so I'm going to head back towards town. So we're going to get into our first engagement here in just a second. And actually, this is going to be a perfect example of how you want to play this tank. Now, granted, at first here, I'm just running into a T-34. So first shot, this guy hits me, puts a little bit of damage on me. And one thing I want to point out in this tank is when you're playing against experienced players, they're going to try to take your tracks out, because they know that this tank maneuvers well, and that's one way for them to get around you, to that weak side and rear armor, and get rear shots on you. So that's one of the reasons that for my first cruise skill I went with repair, got it all the way up quickly, is because that happens a lot. Now, as you notice, once I get around this guy, I turn the front of my tank towards him so I can get that heavy frontal armor directly in front of him. So if he does shoot me again, there's a good chance he's going to bounce, which that's what happened. His second shot bounced. So that guy's finished off. We don't have to worry about him anymore. Now, when I'm moving down this way, I see this IS-4 and this IS-7 that are engaging our tier 8s and tier 9s. Those two tanks can probably take out my tanks fairly easily. So I know I can't take both of these guys at the same time, so my objective here is to relieve some of the pressure on the smaller tanks on my team. Both these guys at the same time could easily take me out, no problem. But watch what I do here. I'm going to separate these two tanks. I hit the IS-7 in the rear. He starts backing up, and the IS-4 sees me. So he knows I'm back here. He's going to come back and engage me. And as you can see, as I discussed before, I hit that IS-7 right down by the tracks in the bottom of his Glaxus plate. Good place to try to take out crew. So I take a really crappy shot there, put it in the ground. You usually want to aim when you're taking your shots, but you know, it happens. So I do give him a side shot there, take a little bit of damage, but what I've done now is I backed that IS-7 off, and I'm going to move around and engage this IS-7 or IS-4. So at this point, I have separated these two, and what's going to happen, that IS-7 moved around the other side of the buildings, and that gives my tier 8s and tier 9s side shots on him. So I'm working this IS-4. You can see I'm getting the front of my tank back towards him. Now he's giving me side shots, and he's dead. The IS-7 is going to be the same way here in just a second. He's exposed himself to the other tanks on my team, and he's a goner too. So very quickly there, we've taken out a tier 8 and 2 of their tier 10s. This match is pretty much over at this point. We've got an overwhelming advantage, not necessarily in numbers, but in the strength of the tanks that we have left. So that's the part that I wanted to show you right there. How to play this tank. You always want to keep your front end towards the tank that you're engaging, although I did give him side shots at one point, but that was because I was using the strategy to my advantage. Unless he tracked me, there was no way that they were going to stop me at that point. But you could see that I separated those two tanks. There's no way I could take them together. I got them split up. The IS-7 made a huge mistake in moving out, trying to chase me and giving my other tanks side shots. So he got taken out quickly. We took out the IS-4, and that's how you want to play this tank. The rest of this match, pretty much we're just doing cleanup. Kill the T-28. That guy was pretty much screwed them from the beginning. Side shots, those things are easy to pin. They just got a couple tanks left at this point, so we're going to keep moving forward. Now, I do make a big mistake here. This Object 704, I get cocky. I don't have a whole lot of hit points left. I can't tell which way he's facing, and he is facing me, and he drills me. So I'm just kind of screwing around right now. I know we got this game won. Bam! Ram him. Do a little bit of damage. I thought it was kind of funny. Now I'm an idiot here. I think I'm going to get the kill shot on this guy here in just a second. I accidentally put my gun over the top of him, completely whiffed that shot. Like I said earlier, you want to aim. So this time I'm going to aim and make sure this guy gets taken out properly. That's 4 kills. So anytime you can get 4 kills in this tank in a match, you know you've done your part. This game is over now. Pretty much all that's left is their RD, I think, and the game's over. So that's how you want to play the T110E5. Couple of points, you know, you got good pen on the gun, good maneuverability, good hull armor and frontal armor on the turret. So you want to play this tank like a medium. You want to do a lot of flanking maneuvers, and after you fire, you want to make sure that you rotate the tank so that the front of your tank is facing your enemy, and that'll guarantee you a much better chance of survival in this thing and guarantee you a lot more kills. So that is the end of our tutorial and gameplay for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like it, leave comments and everything on the videos. Let me know what you think. Sorry that we don't have any more music for you this week, but we just didn't have time to do the recording, so I'll get you back in the next one. Everybody, have a good day, have fun playing tanks, and be cool, and we'll talk to you later.